Yeah. Hi. Last session we were discussing about Cluster Excel and its modes. Okay. In Cluster Excel, we have two modes, that is high availability and load sharing. And we discussed about, like in detail about that. And, these are the states of, a cluster member, like in different stages. Okay. Like active attention, down, ready state, and standby, initializing, and cluster X inactive or machine down status. Okay, so these are the status of like a cluster member in different stages. And then like we discussed about a few commands which are related to cluster Excel. Okay, and we discussed about it, like why we need cluster Excel. We discussed about all these things. Okay, and now we'll discuss about one more concept, that is called core Excel. Core Excel, is nothing but like it's a performance enhancing technology on the firewalls. Okay, so like suppose like so we have a single core. Okay, so it will be divided into multiple cores. Okay, like to perform each core one functionality. Okay, so we can say like cluster core Excel is a performance enhancing technology. So it improvising the performance. Okay, for security gateways on multi-core processing platforms. Okay, so multi-core processing platforms in the sense, like it will be having n number of CPU cores. That is called So wherever we have the firewalls where multi-core platforms we have available. Okay, so at the point of time, this core Excel will help us in enhancing the performance of the gateway. Okay, so how it is enhancing the performance? Like a concurrent performing multiple tasks. Okay, suppose you have a CPU. Okay, it is divided into multiple cores. So each core is performing some multiple tasks. Okay, so by using that, like with the help of that, like it enhances the performance. Okay, so that is about like a core Excel. And core Excel, it supports in all the OS platforms. We have Splat, Ipso, Gaia. So now we are running with most 99% of the applications which are running with Gaia only. And like only any older applications which are having some dependency with respect to hardware, those are running with Splat and Ipso. Okay, but 99% of the applications now which are running with Gaia only. Clear?
Yeah, clear, Harsha.
So like so here what happening, like when you enable a core Excel, okay, once we enable the core Excel in the gateway, okay, so the number of kernel instances, okay, it means like like kernel means it's a OS instances. Okay, so it will divide into some pieces. Okay, so like if you enable like only one core, if you have CPU, so one kernel instance will be there, like one OS. Okay, so like OS only, like it will be performed into different. I mean, I can say functionalities are like features, I can say. Okay, so if we have two cores only, two kernel instances will be available. Okay, if you like enable four cores, we have three kernel instances available. Okay, so like that, like if beyond 12, if you can give, okay, number of cores minus 2. So how many number of cores you are enabling? Suppose if you are enabling 14 cores, okay, the number of kernel instances which is available is 14 minus 2 is equal to 10, sorry, 12. This is about core Excel. Okay, so see, if anyone will ask you what is the core Excel and why its functionality, so we can say the CPU core will be divided into multiple cores, and each core will perform some specific functionality to enhance the performance. And how many number of cores we need to enable? We have, we need to, like it depends on our standards and requirement, I can say. If you having like if the firewall is intended to handle more lots of traffic, then we can like like we can go for higher number of cores, CPU cores. Okay, so like let's see let's see how to enable or disable the core Excel. Okay, so we log into the firewall gateway. Firewall gateway is nothing but like log into CLI, command line interface of the firewall. Okay, and then so let me tell you like this. Okay, first one is log into security, I mean firewall gateway. So we logged into firewall. Okay, then we have to type cp config. Okay, so cp config, like it will be having I mean almost 7 to 8 options will be there. Okay, so here we have enable and disable core Excel option will be there. So once we like if you want to enable, like enable, and then once we enable, it will ask for how many number of cores you want. Okay, so like that we have to enable. If you want to disable, same thing again. Okay, so log into the gateway, run cpconfig command, and select core Excel option, and disable that. So if you can see, like what are all the options which are available in the cpconfig command. Okay, we discussed, like in earlier classes. Let me show you that. So if you can see, no, not VPN, it is 1 second. Somewhere we discussed actually. Okay, I think it's not available. Let me show you that. Okay.
How many number of codes depend upon the part?
Depends on the, like firewall
Code.
capacity and our requirement.
Okay. They will give the how many number we have to partition.
Sorry.
Uh, the firewall company will decide the how many
No,
cores
no,
that we have to partition the.
no, not firewall company. Okay, like firewall company will just, give you the firewall device to you. Okay, and
Okay.
from in an organization, an architect will be decide. Okay, so like how many
Okay.
cores we need. Like depends on the load, he'll be able to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so able to see my screen, no?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, yeah. So here, let me show you. So like if you type cpconfig command, no, so I mentioned, like, we have 8 to 9 options, right? So if you want to, like it is for SIC, okay, secure internal communication. For now, our target is to enable and disable the core Excel. Configure checkpoint core Excel is there, na? This is the option. Okay. So once you CP module is nothing but it's a firewall. We logged into firewall CLI and type cpconfig command. Once you type cpconfig command, then it will show the list of options which are available. So from there, what is our thing? We need to configure the core Excel. Okay. Select option 8. So once, like, it will show here, na, enter your choice. So here we have to enter 8. Then once you enter 8, then it will ask you how many CPU cores you require. All that information accordingly we have to configure, enable and disable the core Excel. Okay, clear?
Yeah. Clear.
Yeah.
Harsha.
Like, to configure a number of instances means like how many number of core instances CPU instances we need. So same thing again. First we have to enable the core Excel, then we have to, enter the number of firewall instances we need to have, and reboot the security gateway. So this is how, like we enable and disable, and how to configure the number of instances in the core Excel. Okay, and like there is some limitations, with respect to core Excel. Core Excel. Okay, so core Excel is nothing but we are dividing the CPU core into multiple streams, and we are working, right. But like there is some dependencies. Okay, if we are operating, these things in the firewall, core Excel, like it won't be able to applicable. Okay, so like to enable these unsupported features in checkpoint, okay, we need to disable the, like if our firewall needs to support these things, okay, then core Excel is not possible. Okay, got it? The limitations about core Excel.
Yeah. Harsha.
Okay, so this is about core Excel. Okay, and we have one more technology called, like secure Excel. So secure Excel is is also like, kind of acceleration solution that performance, like, performance of a gateway. Performance will be maximizes. Okay, so even in core Excel, what happening? Core Excel, core Excel also what it doing? It is enhancing the performance of, like firewall, right? Okay, in a similar fashion, Secure Excel also is an acceleration solution that maximizes the performance of the firewall. Okay, how it will be, we will see that. Okay, so here, like Secure Excel, if you want to turn on, okay, we have to log into the gateway, and we have to type some command called, like fw axel state. So if you type this command, that is fw axel state, so it will show if Secure Excel is on or off. Okay, if you want to turn on this, okay, so here, we'll type fw axle on, turn off fw axle off. Okay, so secure Excel, like first we need to, enable or disable. First we need to, aware of that. Okay, so if you turn on secure Excel, okay, so if you want to check the state, if it is enabled or not, FW Excel state, and if you want to, on and off, FW Excel on and off. Okay, these are the commands. And so how it is enhancing the performance? Let's see that. Okay, so when you enable the secure Excel, okay, you know how to enable the secure Excel right now. Hello.
Yeah, Harsha.
So if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want to enable, if FW Excel on, we have to give. And if you want to turn off or disable secure Excel, FW Excel off state. Okay, so this is how, like we can turn on and turn off the secure Excel, and how to check the secure Excel status, if it is like running or not. Okay, and then once secure Excel is enabled, okay, some whatever the operations it is taking care by firewall. Okay, so firewall won't take care. There is some virtualized software will be available on top of firewall. It will be taken care. That is secure Excel here. Okay, so once you turn on secure Excel, okay, so whatever the operations it is taken by care by firewall, that will be offloaded to a software, that is virtualized software. Okay, actually whatever the functions it is going, it has to be taken care by firewall CPU, right? So instead of going through firewall CPU, if you enable secure Excel, a virtualized software will be enabled and the traffic will be offloaded to this software. Okay, so by that what happened, like, firewall performance will be increased, and there is no, like compromise in the security perspective also. Like it will perform whatever the actions the firewall can do. Okay, so here firewall can inspect the processor connection more efficiently and accelerate the throughput and connection rate. Throughput is nothing but, high performance, I can say. And connection rates, how many number of packets it can transfer at a time or per second, something like that. Okay, so if anyone will ask you like what is Secure Excel? Secure Excel is an acceleration solution that maximizes the performance. How it is maximize the performance? What are the operations firewall CPU is taking that are processed by a virtualized software instead of the firewall? Okay, so let's see that. Okay, so here we have, like if you turn on Secure Excel, we have three paths. One is slow path, accelerated path, and medium path. Let's discuss about one by one. So like in case of slow path, what happened? No, like let me tell you here. This is firewall, and this is secure Excel. Virtualized software. Okay. So if in a slow path, what happens? The traffic will go through firewall only. Okay. So packets and connections, it means traffic. Traffic that are inspected by the firewall only, not processed by the secure Excel. That is called slow path. And accelerated path is nothing but firewall we have and secure Excel we have. Okay, so that firewall, what it will do, it won't process the traffic. The traffic will be offloaded to secure Excel. Okay, that is called accelerated path. And in the medium path, so like like if any intrusion prevention system, IPS, if any malware something is there, like that it will be taken care with the medium path. Okay, so packets that are require deeper inspection. Deeper inspection when we need, if we think or if we thought any malicious content is available, okay, then only we'll go for deeper inspection, right? So in case of a deeper inspection, they can't use the accelerated path. Okay, so that's why, like it will go through like a firewall and like a virtualized software, I can say. So it's not necessary that only firewall can inspect the traffic, because firewall, what it will do in general, based on the source destination port only it will check. Okay, but if you want to, you know go for deeper inspection, we need to have, other software features which is available in Checkpoint. That is IPS, IDS is there, antivirus, anti-malware, all these features will be available. Okay, so the traffic which is going through these features will be called as a medium path. Okay, so in Secure Excel we have, three flows: slow path, accelerated path, and medium path. Slow path, firewall will be taking care of the traffic. Accelerated path, Secure Excel is taking care of the traffic. And in case of medium path, okay, which inspects, like where we require deeper inspection, the traffic will go through medium path and it will be taken care by like IPS, IDS, and other antivirus blades, I can say. Clear? Or any questions or
Yeah,
something?
yeah, clear, Harsha.
Okay, that is about Secure Excel. Okay, and now, so this is, like one of the most important, like one what we need to remember, that is checkpoint deployment steps. Okay, so if anyone will give you, okay, so if a physical checkpoint device will given to you, okay, and they're asking us to install it or keep it in the production. Okay, so let me tell you, as an example, keep, let me insert a slide.
Harsha, in Secure Excel, the software will be installed inside the firewall only.
We won't be installing anything. Okay, if we turn on
Virtualization.
if we turn on
Okay.
the secure Excel status, it will be automatically will be available. We won't be able to see all
Okay.
these things. Okay, but inside the process, it will go all these things.
Okay. Harsha, in normal day-to-day company activities, if we want to use the Secure Excel and Core Excel also.
Yeah, like see, in general, okay, so if you want to enable secure Excel or core Excel, all these things, it comes under implementation perspective mainly. Okay,
Okay.
once the implementation done, if you can say in the day-to-day work, okay, so we won't touch, any core Excel changes or secure Excel changes. We won't do anything. If any issue
Okay.
happens, then we will log in and we will check. Okay, that's it. Suppose, if anyone will
Okay.
say it's like, we are facing slowness issue at the point of time, like we need to check on the core Excel perspective. How many cores,
Okay. Okay.
like the firewall is having. Okay, like that.
Okay.
So,
While implementing or installing the firewall, they will activate all these things.
exactly.
Okay. Okay.
But we need to be aware of these things, like why they have why they are doing all these things, because to enhance the performance, right?
Yeah, Harsha. Okay.
That's about that. Okay, and now
Okay.
like suppose you have an organization. Okay, so there are many users. Okay, so consider that, like for each these routers, like many users are connected. These are the routers. Okay, and the traffic, like suppose if they want to access internet. Okay, so they are directly accessing the internet. Okay, but you decided to keep a firewall here. Okay, so like, how to do that, we'll see. And so whatever the requirements they need, they will provide all the things in the SOP, that is scope of operation. We can say like not SOP, SOW. Sometimes, SOW we can call it as, okay, scope of work. Okay, so let's see that. Okay, so first what we have to do, like here, so here, what is the hardware, all these things, it will be taken care by architecture team. So depends on the traffic, how much it is going. Okay, so like what we'll do here, we will take all the requirement. Okay, so why we are going to place the firewall here, why, and what's its functionality and which traffic it is handling. So we'll gather all these details. And if, like in our organization, if anyone know, which application we need and all, let them aware. But however, it is recommended to check with the vendor itself. So suppose we are implementing checkpoint vendor, right? So we'll like collaborate with the checkpoint, saying that this is our requirement. Okay, this is the purpose where, like, we are implementing the firewall, and these are the features we need to have. We'll inform all these things. Okay, then checkpoint sales team will be there, or like a checkpoint support team. What they will do, they will suggest us which firewall to taken care, and they'll provide the budget also. Okay, so they will provide, like a couple of options and the budget details also, like how much cost it will be. So based on that, like our company will decide, like which one to take care. And after deciding that, checkpoint will, like deliver the product, the checkpoint firewall, to your organization. Okay, and then our work will come into the picture. Is it clear?
Yeah, Harsha.
Okay, so like once we get the device, what we have to do? We have to unbox the device. Unbox the device in the sense, like, like it will be coming with some box, all these things, right? Like how we get, like a normal device from any what I can say, e-commerce websites. We'll get some devices, right? So we have to unbox the device. Okay, and then mount on the rack. So mount on the rack is nothing but, in an organization will be having data centers, right? So in the data centers, so there will be some rack, where we need to keep our firewall. Okay, then we have to refer the scope of document. So, like in the scope, I mean, in scope and out of scope document is nothing but, okay, what and all, what we need to configure is called in scope. what and all is not required is called out of scope. Like what and all we need to do in the firewall, what configuration we require, that is called in scope and out of scope document. Okay, so like there they will provide all the information saying that this many interfaces you need to configure. Okay, so like if you want to like we need to enable only firewall and the VPN option there, others is not required. So list of like things they will provide in the in scope and out scope document. Okay, and then next step is we have to like this is the firewall, and what we have to do, we have to connect to the power cable and get the console access. So here console access is nothing but like so I mean earlier if you observe, okay, so while we are installing the firewall, how we are accessing the firewall, we are taking the IP address. Like if you observe, like while installing in Azure, okay, we are installing and getting IP address also, right? So with that IP address, we are logging into, like with the Chrome or any browser, we are logging into the gateway and we are doing the operations. But here, like as is everything, assigning of IP addresses, everything it is taken care by Azure here. But in physical device, okay, we need to assign the IP address, the one who is configuring that. And initial stages, there is no IP addresses to access, like the firewall with the GUI by using any web browser. So that's why we'll go with the console access. So there will be a port available in the firewall. Okay, there will be a port, and this port is called console port. Okay, so we'll connect a cable to the console port and with our laptop. So this is our laptop. Okay, and this is the console port, and we'll connect our console port with the firewall cable, like with the firewall console port. Okay, you got it. Console access means so connecting the firewall with the console cable to our laptop. Okay, and we have to power on the firewall. And then so once we power on the firewall, then we need to check which OS it is running, whether it is R77.30 or R80.10, which version it is running. If you want to check that, once you connect to the firewall, like console access, then like we'll be able to access this device. So once you log into this device, if you want to check which version, we have the command called cpstat os. Okay, so if you can give this command, it will show which version it is showing. Suppose consider that it is R80.10. Okay, and then so like in the SOP or SOW, we can say in scope of work document they will mention, okay, so whatever the version it is coming from, like vendor, let it be like that, or we have to go with the latest version, that is R81.10 now. So which version they are expecting, they will provide in the scope of or out of scope document. Okay, so if they're asking us to upgrade it, we have to go with the upgradation. If not, we will go with the same current version only, whatever it is coming with the checkpoint. Is it clear regarding these points? First one is unboxing the device, mount on the rack, like refer the like a scope of document, and power on the device and get the console access, and check the which version it is running, and like so decide whether we need to proceed with the current running version or new latest version we need to install. Okay, clear so far?
Yeah, clear, Harsha.
And then so like once you
Harsha, to,
yeah,
Harsha,
tell
to
me.
install the new version, we have
We'll tell
to
you.
get.
I'll tell you about
Okay,
that.
okay,
In the next session, I will tell you about. But for now, this is the process what we need to follow, and how
okay,
to upgrade to the new version. I'll tell you in the next session.
okay, Harsha.
Okay. So and then like once you decided which version, and while logging into the firewall, it will show an option called like first time wizard. Okay, so in case of first time wizard, we need to configure like many parameters such as CPU, disk, all these things. Okay, so like first we have to configure one interface. It will ask for one interface to configure. Okay, so interface will give some IP address, something like 192.160, something, some IP address. They will provide all these things. Whatever we are creating in the first time wizard, they will provide in the SOW, scope of work, or like in scope and out scope document will be there na. While installing, they will provide all these things. Okay, so one interface will be configured, and like which will be used for web UI login. Web UI login is nothing but one IP address will be assigned to one interface, and with help of that interface, we'll log into the firewall by using the web browser. Okay, so to log in that, first we need to assign one IP address or with one interface. Okay, and then we have to configure the disk space, RAM, Okay, so disk space is nothing but like it's a hardware size. Okay, like how much disk we need, how much like data it has to store, all these things will be there. No, so if you want to check that, it will ask, okay, how much data, disk space, all these things. Okay, so even this RAM size, all these things, it will come under the scope of document only. So there will provide the numbers. And if you want to check the disk status, how much disk it is fulfilled and how much it is free. Suppose if you have the hard drive like hard disk, I can say. So you can check, right, how much data is filled and how much like data is. So here you have like a GUI. It will show 43 GB is free and this much is completed. So in the similar fashion, in the disk size also, it will show the percentage, how much percentage it is completed and how much it is free. And we'll have to configure the RAM. Like if you want to check what is the RAM, RAM utilization or CPU utilization. Okay, so we'll go with like a free -m command. These commands will have to run in the firewall CLI only, and we have to configure the host name. Host name is nothing but we are giving a name or assigning a name to the firewall. Okay, and we have to check like how many number of CPU cores I was mentioning now. So checkpoint appliance by default it will use a CPU cores. Okay, so like how much amount of CPU you are taking. Okay, based on that, like we have to take while purchasing itself will mention how many CPU cores we need. So they will provide that many number of cores. But if it is not checkpoint device, sometimes like we won't uh, purchase the device from the checkpoint, and like what happened, we'll take any virtual machines on top of that, we'll install the checkpoint devices, right? So in case of those things, in a VM, all these things, we have to configure the number of cores we require. So how to configure that? We know Core Excel, right? Core Excel. So we log into
Yeah.
like firewall device, enable Core Excel, and configure the number of cores we require. Okay. So if it's not a checkpoint device, and then we have to like what I can say. So if you want to configure them, we need to configure the management server also, right? So we have to configure that as well. Okay. So for any doubts,
No, Harsha.
okay. So once you configure the first time with Jan, okay. Once it is completed, then we will log into firewall web UI. So suppose we assign like this IP address 1.10.1.1. Then what we will do, we'll take this IP address of that interface, then we'll type https colon double slash 10.1.1.1. Okay, so we'll log into firewall device. So here we have to like SOP nothing but plan document. Okay, so they will provide okay how many number of interfaces. Okay, how many number of interfaces, and their IP addresses, everything they will provide. We have to configure that. And routes also we need to configure. Okay, so routes is nothing but like so if you have the firewall here, okay, so here in a number of devices it is connected. Okay, the traffic has to reach a number of destinations. So in the firewall we need to have routing tables to reach this router, this router, this router. So we have to configure the routing table also. Everything they will provide in the plan document. And we have to set up the SIG. We know, right, how to set up the SIG. So while installing the firewall, it's asked for some password, and we have to note down the password and log into management server and add the gateway. After the adding in the gateway, we have communication option there. Okay, so we have to add the SIG password, and we need to make sure that SIG has to be established. And in our past classes we discussed about like how to establish the SIG, and if it is not working, how to reset the SIG also we discussed. Okay, and we have to set up the policy package. So policy package is nothing but by default in the management server standard policy will be there, but we'll configure the new policy package with our requirement, and we'll add the firewall gateway to the policy package. Okay, and then we have to add the firewall rules. So like here I was mentioning so these many source which are connected behind the firewall, and they'll provide okay like so what all the traffic it is going through, it needs to go through firewall. They will provide every information in the like in scope and out scope document. So according to that we have to enable the firewall rules. Okay, and then we have to install the policy. That is fine. Okay, but however we haven't put that firewall into production, right? Suppose this is the firewall. Okay, one second. So this is the network, office network, consider office network. There are like a number of source networks I can say. source routers also considered. Okay, those are connected to one core switch, a core router. Okay, so it is connected to firewall, and firewall also it is connected to many routers again. Okay, and some is connected to internet, all these things. So now, okay, whatever the traffic it is there, okay, we won't send all the traffic once at one, like one shot to firewall, because we don't know, right? Because it's the first installation we are doing, we don't know if it's working or not. So that's why first one thing we'll divert to the firewall from the core router. Earlier it was going directly to internet and these things. Now what we will do, we will change the next hop IP address to firewall. Earlier from this router, if it want to go outside, it has to reach here, right? Now what will happen? From the in the router, we will change the gateway to this firewall interface IP address. Okay, then the traffic will come to firewall. And based on the firewall rules what we have created, it will go further. Okay, so like that, like everything whatever it is there, we won't like divert everything at one time. One router. Okay, if everything is working fine, then go with second one. So like that, step by step, we will move the traffic towards firewall, and we will check if everything is working fine, then good. Okay, so if you can see here, we can't put the device directly into production. So once done with the above steps, what are the steps we performed, then we'll connect to the core switch. From the core switch or core router, then we'll ask network team like who is managing the router. They will perform, point out the traffic to our firewall interface. Then the traffic will go. So we'll check, if the traffic firewall is going through, the traffic is going through our firewall, and if everything is expecting fine, then like step by step we'll perform all the traffic diversion. Okay, so this is how like we deploy checkpoint firewall. Okay, so any doubts or any queries here?
Harsha, first time when you connect the firewall to the console,
Hmm.
and it will open in the system, no?
No, it won't open in
Uh,
the system. See, first time you
yeah,
connect it to firewall, no, we have to it will be CLI access, command line
okay.
access,
Oh, not GUI.
not GUI. First time, that's why So here if you can see, console access is nothing but it is CLI. Okay,
Okay.
after configuring the first time wizard, after configuring all these things, okay, like assigning an IP address, all these things, then we log into web UI with the browser.
Okay, Harsha. Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
once we open the browser, okay, then what we'll do, we'll configure the all interfaces and routes we will add there. Okay, so then we'll log into management server, and we have to establish the connectivity between management server and gateway. Once SIC is done, we have to create the policies in the management server and then install it to firewall gateway. Okay, and then next step, like we'll one by one, step by step, we'll forward the traffic to firewall. This is
Okay.
what the
Okay.
process
Now,
it is.
okay,
Clear?
Harsha. Harsha, that IP address, how it will be? It will be given. We want to give the IP how the
See,
IP address.
if you are the architect, okay, you will be having like a list of IP addresses, what needs to be configured, all the things. But however, if you are not the architect, okay, someone is providing you this SOP document, and your role is to create the implement this device. Okay, so at the point of time, everything they'll provide in the document. Everything I'm telling you. What is the like a SIG key also what you need to use? They will provide all these things.
Okay, Harsha. Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
so
Harsha.
clear about the deployment. How there is the deployment steps actually.
Yeah, clear, Harsha.
Okay, so in next session, like we'll discuss about if you have source destination. Okay, so if you have source and destination IP, source destination is there, and between like many devices will be there, right? If connectivity is not working between source and destination, how to troubleshoot that issue? Okay, so we'll discuss in the next session. So here while discussing how to troubleshoot, I will discuss about like how to find out the IP address, like which firewall it belongs to. Okay, and like how to log into the firewall. All these things it will be covered in the next session. Okay,
Yeah,
so
Harsha.
like by the time troubleshooting the sessions in one class or one or yeah, one class it will be done. Okay, or one or two classes. Okay, and
Okay,
next
Harsha.
session it would be third session it would be like upgradation. So in case of upgradation, I'll tell you how to take the backup of the firewall and how to restore it and how to upgrade it. These three things will be covered in the one session. Okay.
Okay, Acha. Okay.
So in total
Okay.
3 sessions, we'll complete checkpoint firewall.
Okay, Acha.
Yeah. So any doubts or anything we can discuss or we'll wind up for today.
No, Harsha, no doubt.